Hello, and welcome back to Monifactory. Last episode, we started setting up some higher tier microminer missions. We were working our way towards the tier 5 microminer, which is going to allow us to mine Naquata. We're going to take a break from this today and move down here to some LUV stuff, which we unlocked by making rhodium palladium. This is a combination of palladium, rhodium, and aluminum, all of which we've already been making. We have a whole bunch more rhodium now from this tier 4 microminer. We also got a lot of osmium and tons of iridium. So rhodium is the main material for the LUV machines. We also are going to be using these niobium titanium cables, which now need to be coated with polyphene sulfide. So we've made patterns for this just with sodium sulfide and dichlorobenzene, both of which pretty easy to get. We just made some patterns for it, and we can chemical react it real easy. We then turn that into sheets and then use that for the niobium titanium cables. We use that to make the machine hull, which we can use to make our new machines at LUV. Since we have all these multi-blocks now, we don't actually need to make brand new LUV machines. We can just upgrade the energy input and then they will run at LUV. But that would definitely start with upgrading our turbine situation. And I know for a fact I am going to need to upgrade our fuel because the nitrobenzene is struggling. I think the main fuel source, the easiest one, and probably the best one, is going to be cetane boosted diesel, which we can't burn in a combustion generator. Let's see if we can't work on getting the LUV dynamo hatches and turbine holders, so that we can actually generate some LUV power. So taking a look at the dynamo hatch, you'll notice we need to make this in an assembly line with LUV power. So the assembly line is a new multi-block that we'll need to build. Most of this is pretty easy. These assembly line casings were really expensive. They take a lot of IV components and a lot of EV circuits, but we got those. The assembly line gratings are also really cheap, and then the solid machine casings. We also automated laminated glass. This is made in a forming press with polyvinyl butyl. Like I said, most of this is just plugging in pattern recipes everywhere, so nothing too crazy there. So we should be able to build our assembly line now, and I'm going to build this vertically. So the assembly line can be like the distillation tower, can be any height based on how many input buses you have. Well, for the distillation, it's how many outputs, but with the assembly line, we'll need one input bus for each ingredient that it takes, along with an output bus, an input hatch for the liquids, and we'll get to this data stuff here in a minute. We're going to use 2 IV hatches to make LUV power, and then we should just be able to build the rest of it. So for this one, I have 9 inputs, because that's what the quest book recommended for making LUV components. I think the maximum it needs ever is 16. I don't know what I'm looking for. Maybe like this. Yeah, look at that. This one takes 16 different items. So we'll eventually have one that's like that big. Oh, and then these assembly control casings are also really expensive. They take LUV circuits, which we just barely got. Boom, 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 boom. And then the last thing we'll need for this is a data access hatch. The only one we can make right now is the EV one. This block is basically how the assembly line knows what things to make. So in order to make the energy hatch, for example, we first need to scan an IV energy hatch with a data stick, which will put that LUV energy hatch into a data stick so that it knows how to make it. And then we'll use that in the assembly line in order to actually make them. So we'll need this with PTFE. That is a little expensive. Definitely is not going to hurt me to get a laser engraver. And then we don't have these NAND memory chips yet. This takes a gray lens. We're going to be making probably more than a couple of these data sticks, so we'll want to automate these. Okay, so in the background, I'm also going to be working on making the laser engraver multi-block. That's going to take 60 of these laser-safe engraving casings. Jeez. Which takes titanium tungsten carbide. This is going to be a little expensive, but for now, we'll just make some of these NAND wafers manually. Okay, while we're working on the data hatch, let's check out cetane boosted diesel. So we're already making diesel from our oil distillation. We have 8 million, and all that's probably getting voided too, because I had to make sure it wasn't backing up. But that diesel combined with tetranitromethane, boom, nailed it. That will get us the cetane boosted diesel. And it's actually a little cheaper than using the biodiesel, and we get a little more out of it. So then this looks like we need to mix nitric acid and ethanone. And ethanone is acetic acid and sulfuric acid. We have a bit of acetic acid, not as much as I would like though. And I know for a fact that nitric acid we don't have a lot of. Let's just get some mixing going and see what we can get. Update, the data access hatch has to be made in a clean room, which is very strange. We'll just need one of these for now though. This will go on our assembling machine and that should finish it. Maybe I'm missing something. Oh, power can only go on the top, it looks like. On this side. And it also needs an ME input hatch. Now see my mistake. There you are. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Ah. Boom. Assembly line. Oh, okay. Apparently, ME input hatches are not allowed. Oh, also, since we're building it vertically, this controller block has to be rotated so that it knows which direction it's facing. So that takes care of building the assembly line. Now we need to get some recipes set up for it, along with setting up the inputs and everything. Let's take a look at the dynamo hatch. This is definitely one I want to make. And this takes 2 liquids, so I'll need another input bus, input hatch. Or can we use a quadruple input hatch? Oh, yes, we can. Beautiful. Let's see. For making the dynamo hatch, I believe we can get rid of the data stick because that's just going to stay in the assembling machine. But we need 5 different items and 2 fluids. So unless I'm mistaken, I believe that the assembly line in hard mode, we need to send the items in the right order. I don't think you have to do this in easy mode, I was reading. So what we need to do is make sure that each of these items go in the right place. So where we have our pattern provider, that can go in there. Make sure we have blocking mode on. We're going to use an interface on the output. So that should just go straight back into our system. But then we need to set a storage bus on each of these inputs. And then in each of these storage buses, we need to turn on report inaccessible items. And we also need to go into each of these storage buses and set the priority. So on this first one here, all the way down at the bottom is where we want our first item to go. So we're going to set that to the highest priority. That's going to be the highest number, and then we'll just go down all the way up to the top. This is also why this multi-block can only take the ULV input bus, because it can only hold 1 item. Alright, that should take care of that. And then we're going to want all of these storage buses connected to a different network, sort of like a little sub-network. So we're going to connect cables all the way up here, making sure it's not connected to our output. And then for our patterns, we're going to have those go into an ME interface. So all the items for the patterns go into here. Then it gets put into the assembly line and then output through here. I'm pretty sure this is how this will work. Thank you to the YouTube tutorial I followed for how to do this. I'll put a link for that in the description because it'll probably explain it a lot better. But I think this is right. Obviously, we're missing a couple of things in order to craft it. We're going to need niobium titanium springs. And then the LUV coil, which takes osmiridium and samarium, 2 new metals we do not have. Although they're going to be really easy to get. Samarium we are getting from the rare earth extracting. So we have quite a bit of that actually. So we'll just need to cook some of that up, and then we'll need an IV polarizer to make the rods. Fortunately, the polarizer is a really cheap machine, so we can make that easily. Finishing getting our 3 chemical reactors set up for the cetane boosted diesel. At least I hope it's only 3. Let's set up the first one for cetane boosted diesel. We're going to have it input diesel and the tetranitromethane. Once this is connected, it should input, unless I don't have diesel connected to storage. No, I don't. Classic. The diesel recipe is also 10 buckets of diesel per craft. So I'll make sure to up that. Then for tetranitromethane, we need ethanone and nitric acid. And then for ethanone, we need acetic acid and sulfuric acid. Alright, that should do that. That should go there. And then that should make the cetane boosted diesel. We'll want to make sure we store each of these liquids just so it doesn't fill up our storage system. And then this has to be on circuit 24 in order for it to work. There we go, look at that. We're already getting a whole bunch of cetane boosted diesel. Now we need to build something that can burn it. So similar to our big rotors here, we're going to be building some combustion engines. These are mostly made out of titanium, so hopefully we have enough of that. Brain. Alright, we got the controller. We need 2 of these gearboxes, 8 of these engine intakes. Yeah, that really did a number on our titanium. And then we need 21 of the machine casings. The combustion engine also needs lubricant, and it's going to consume 1,000 millibuckets per hour, which, considering how much lubricant we have, that is not that much. Oh, and then we need our dynamo hatch. I forgot. Okay, so we should be able to craft our dynamo. Ooh, I forgot about that. Never mind. We'll need a polarizer to make our samarium rods. This does need to be IV. Then we need to take care of osmiridium. And this is an alloy from osmium and iridium, which we now have lots and lots of. Ooh, does this have to be made at LUV though? Okay, so I need 2 IV input hatches on that. Alright, let's upgrade alloy blasting to LUV so that I can make osmiridium. I think I am realizing that the combustion engine does not have a turbine rotor holder, so it's just gonna produce some energy. Not as much as I was hoping for. So I don't even think we need an LUV dynamo hatch for this. I think I can use an EV one and it'd be fine. Oh, and this also needs maintenance. What's even crazier is look how fast this thing is running now. We can make stainless steel in 8 seconds. Before it took like 100, didn't it? Alright, let's just give this a test. If I do this, it's producing energy. It's producing 2048. That is not any... That's nothing at all. I feel like it would just be easier to upgrade these guys at that point. This definitely means I need to fix up my nitrobenzene production. Okay, quick test. If I use a IV dynamo hatch, how much energy does this produce? Okay, 6,000. Oh, that's because I gave it oxygen. I don't think it'll do any more than that. And these guys right now have the capability of making 22,000. So, better. We can technically craft the LUV dynamo hatches now. I'm very confused, because shouldn't the battery buffer be outputting 16 amps? Or is it 16 amps of EV? Oh, because I have EV batteries. I need to upgrade those. That's where my power problems have been coming from. Problem is, IV batteries are going to be really expensive. So we need a circuit assembler for these Lapatronic energy orbs. We need engraved Lapatron crystal trips, which is a blue engraver recipe. Well, I doubt we can make 16 of these. Oh, yeah. Maybe we can just make the other IV batteries for now. The vanadium batteries. These are a lot cheaper. Oh, yeah, that's way cheaper. Okay, so upgrading our batteries to IV should allow us to output 16 amps of IV power, actually. I didn't realize that we could only do 4 before. So that should allow our blast melter to run too. Ah, this takes LUV power as well. Well, that kind of ruins everything. If I can't make this without LUV power, that means I need an elite assembler. Because we can't run this at LUV unless I use a 4 amp IV energy hatch. Okay, if I swap this for a 4 amp hatch. Can't do that. Alright. So that means that in order to run this large assembling machine at LUV, we would need the LUV energy hatch, which takes the LUV coils, which takes LUV power. So we need the LUV assembler to make it anyway. Oh man. Okay, so we're gonna have to cancel our dynamo hatch and work on making the assembler instead. Okay, LUV assembler is going to take the robot arms and conveyors, which of course need to be made in the assembly line. All of these are made out of HSSS. See what happens if we try to make this. I plugged in all of the, like, motor recipes. Yeah, that's expected. And now we need styrene butadiene rubber. Okay. Alright, so it sounds like we need to get some styrene butadiene rubber crafting. How are we gonna make this? Looks like we can get 41 dust from combining butadiene, styrene, and oxygen. Butadiene we have from our distillation, and styrene is made from ethylene and benzene together. So assuming that we have all of those, we can just make patterns pretty easily, and that should take care of what we need for those patterns. Oh, for the conveyor model. Now I just need all of the HSSS components. Okay, now we also need Rurdit wire, which is a new LUV alloy. And this is a combination of ruthenium and iridium. So we can get that alloy going. Okay, we should be good to craft the assembler. I'm not sure what this is going to look like once it tries to go to craft in the assembly line, though. I need more of these alloy blast smelters. This thing is taking forever. You know what I'm realizing is that I tried to put a dynamo hatch on here earlier instead of a 4 amp energy hatch. Does that bump you up to LEV? Max recipe tier is IV. No. Dang it. Yeah, so even if I try to make it, it does not work. So our assembling line is ready to craft. It has all of the ingredients in the right spot and its fluids, but now it actually needs the data it needs to craft. So for the LEV motor, we need to scan an IV motor with a data card, and that will put this electric motor onto the data card so that the assembly line knows how to make it. So I've gone ahead and made a scanner, and then in here we'll add the IV rotor that we need to scan to research the LEV one, and our data stick. And that takes a full minute, but we'll get our LEV motor data. And we'll need one of these for each of the recipes that we need to make in the assembly machine. So like the conveyor and the robot arm, all of this stuff. Once we do have our data, if we add it to the assembly line, it should know how to make those motors now. And I'm not sure what this is waiting for because it has everything. It's definitely got power. It's got the data. You know what? I may have had these storage buses backwards. Maybe this one needs to be 16. Or, well, they just need to go down from a certain number all the way to the bottom. Maybe that will do it. Boom. Now let's see if they get put in the right spot. They did, and this is working. Using 24,000 EU just to craft a motor, which is a little crazy. And it should do the same for pistons. Should get it ready for it. We'll need to make data again of the piston, the conveyor, and the robot arm. And all of those will go into our assembling machine. Alright, first elite assembler. Okay, I just need this thing to make 2 LUV coils. I don't have the means to make LUV power stuff yet, so I'm just gonna cheat for a second and get this guy going by turning it on and off. There we go. So that means we can craft the energy hatch now, which we do need to scan a IV energy hatch for. So I guess the last thing I need to do today is to try and get the LUV energy hatch, which hopefully this thing should be able to craft. And I want to make the LUV diode so I can plug my machines up and my multi-blocks and stuff. But this takes advanced SMDs, and that's going to take PBI, which I don't have yet. See if we can plug this pattern into an assembler though. I'll have to make patterns for PBI. Making PBI isn't actually that bad. We just need patterns for pretty much everything. It comes down to 2 main ingredients, and then this one with the zinc we are starting to make over here. I swapped it out for the diesel. Yes, I put that over here. And then we have a zinc input somewhere, and then we have patterns for the diphenyl isophthalate, and then all of this is pretty easily made. Phthalic acid, dimethylbenzene, pretty easy stuff. We should be able to make advanced SMDs for a diode. Oh, and we need niobium titanium cables. Okay, let's see if we can do that. Boom, boom, should be good. Also, for this quest, it wants us to make indium tin barium titanium cuprate, but this takes Naquata in order to make this, either through the blast smelter or the blast furnace. So we can't finish this quest yet to get the LUV circuit assembler. So that means we're gonna have to get Naquata, which means we're gonna have to do fission reacting. Aha, and we got our LUV energy hatch. So we should be able to swap this out on our assembler. That's an HV diode. Whoops. This thing should be able to run at LUV now. Oh, and I did upgrade our batteries to LUV as well. So now we're outputting LUV energy, even though we're not like actually making that much. I just added a couple more gas turbines to help out with that. It would be nice to have these all have LUV dynamo hatches and LUV rotor holders, but I don't think I'm there yet. So sweet, we should be ready to make Naquata coils, but we have to get Naquata, and that's gonna be a whole thing in itself. So I think I'm gonna leave it there for today. But I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.